Men and women all over the globe are joining now for the best videos on the internet.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
And I'm doing my part too.
They're doing their part. Are you? Click the subscribe button now to become a member of the Action Pack. Would you like to know more?
Hello everyone and welcome. I'm Mike, and with me today I have
Stephen Russell.
And we have formed a little bit of a consortium, a kind of partnership. We are old colleagues from the Army. So today we are going to be talking about, here at Mike's After Action Reviews, we're going to be talking about a project that Stephen is working on and seems pretty cool, and everybody should go support. This is the After Action interview for Tales of Nihilism. Are you a gym rat, or even just somebody who works to stay healthy through exercise? If so, I have found your new favorite color. Purple. Purple Works Nutrition offers a pre-workout manufactured right here in the good old US of A. Their pre-workout is formulated by a healthcare professional with a simple, easy-to-understand list of all natural ingredients with no preservatives or artificial flavors. Action Pack members, in the words of the mighty Grom Hellscream, why be strong enough when you can be stronger still? By harnessing the power of Purple. Purple Works Pre-Workout is the ultimate pre-workout supplement that targets tried and true ingredients that deliver energy, focus, and strength. You can find this pre-workout at purpleworksnutrition.com. You can find a link in the description down below. So, everybody, as we said in the beginning of the video here, Stephen Russell, old Army buddy of mine. If you're okay with me telling people that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. So this is very informal. This is not as formal as some of my other videos. And I'm having this weird issue with my mic. I don't know how I want this mic, but leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what to do with the mic if you. Let me know if there's any audio or video issues, guys. This is kind of a different format. We've done a couple of these after action interviews, but basically, so normally with like movies and video games, we start with the production. So Stephen Russell you are the artist, and then you have a writer. Who is your writer?
So I have my writer and letterer is Joseph Miles Pittman. Okay.
And this is a comic book. Just letting everybody know. I realize I haven't said that yet, but basically, an anthology series, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So Tales of Nihilism. Tell us about it. Where did the idea for this come from?
The idea, funny enough, came from me and my wife playing the old Batman Arkham Asylum games.
Okay.
So that's where this brainchild came out of. And we're sitting here playing, and I think I was playing Batman, and he's down underneath Gotham, PD. Mm-hmm. And I'm just noticing, like, the sewers and how bad they are. And then there was this, like, open hole in the wall where you can get into the police station from the sewers. And in that area, it was the server room, for all the computers. And I was like, it just immediately took me out of the whole thing. And I was like, wait a minute, a server room couldn't be here. It's mm-hmm. got to be kept at a certain temperature, dryness, they're really finicky. And from there, we started going through the game and just making fun and like finding like OSHA violations and calling them out, throughout the whole thing. And I got this idea that it was like, well, we have all these superheroes, this culture that surrounds superheroes, the Marvel movies, the DCU, all of these things going on, but no one ever really gets into the minutia of these things and asks, like not just how feasible these things are, but just like what kind of world would that be for normal people? How difficult would it be for an average person to live in Metropolis or Gotham, or these crazy places? And so I decided that I would envision that world, and that's what this comic is based on, is the average Joe, this guy, Philip Kirshner, who has to live in this world of superheroes, and, just how insane it is and how almost like unlivable culture, society, and everything, gets in this place.
Yeah. Okay. So basically, this is a comic book. You're following the average guy. No superpowers. Well, I mean, no spoilers or anything. Just but the premise in the beginning and where we start off with is no superpowers, just your average normal guy going about. And how he deals with everything. So have you gotten? So let me just ask you, like, have you seen movies? You've seen movies like Unbreakable, Glass, things like that. Did you ever see, inspiration from that? Things like, actually, it reminds me of, there used to be an old ad for, I want to say it was like a bank, but it was with the Powerpuff Girls, where this guy, he's like driving down the road and the Powerpuff Girls are flying around overhead and it's following him. And he sees the Powerpuff Girls, and so you see him like put his turn signal on, and he turns a different way, and as he turns, in front of him a monster falls and hits the ground, and then he gets out of his car and he takes his newspaper and he puts it in his mouth as he's walking, and then he gets shot with like some laser beam that turns him into a dog, and he just keeps walking like he's unfazed. Kind of makes me think of that, because that guy, in that little ad, it said, and then at the end of the ad it said like he's been living in I forget what the name of the Powerpuff Girl city is, but he's been living in this city all his life.
Yeah.
kind of makes me think of that. Do you draw inspiration from that?
I'd say one of the biggest pieces of cinema I actually drew inspiration from is the movie Falling Down. I don't know if you've seen that with Michael Douglas, and that's kind of like I wanted this tone of where everything starts out with someone who's overloaded with stress and just the problems of life and all of that, and they just get out of hand and then start spiraling completely out of control, and then just take it as far to the extreme as you can possibly get with that.
Yeah. So
and then of course there's a bit of a tone of kind of like The Watchmen, in there, where it's like that. Who watches the Watchmen? These people, what sort of societal structures are in place or not in place because these beings exist, and we're taking a look at all of these points in comic books, and we're going like really into the minutia and detail about those things. Like when people are like, you gotta like suspend your disbelief to like get into this, and we're taking it the other way. We're criticizing, all these aspects that we kind of just take for granted in these worlds of comic book, and we're not giving them any quarter. We're just like, nope, we're going to attack this. We're going to mock it. We're going to, play around with these ideas and really take them to those limits.
Yeah. Just real quick before I comment, because I do have a comment I want to make about what you just said. But Falling Down, by the way, so it is a good movie. I honestly I haven't seen it, but I have to sit down and watch it. But being that I do movie reviews and stuff, I do know quite a bit about movies even that I haven't seen, and I gotta watch this movie, because this is the description. It says an unemployed defense worker goes on an armed rampage on a Los Angeles police detective's last day of work. Basically, this guy just breaks bad. This is like Breaking Bad, but instead of him having a plan and becoming a crime boss or any of that, he just decides, I'm just gonna kill a bunch of people. Like
No, it's better than that. Michael Douglas opens up the movie in LA traffic, and he's just at first it comes off as a guy who's just fed up. You don't even realize he's lost his job. He's just in traffic, and he just says "fuck it" and gets out of his car, turns his car off, and just walks away. And people are just like, "What are you doing?" Like, "No, you can't do that," And so it's that like break from society. It's that I'm going to just like let go and then follow the day and see where it goes. And from there it just becomes so crazy and insane. It's one of my favorite movies.
So I don't know. I don't know how many people he's killed, but I do know how many people he kills or anything in the movie. But I do I'm looking if I and I can pull it up and show some images over here as this is playing, but in the post. But like he's walking around with a machine gun. And he's like, I want a burger. Just give me a burger. I want extra whammy sauce. I know at one point I saw a clip once where he had the rocket launcher and he's trying to get somewhere and there's some construction. So he fires a rocket launcher and shoots a rocket launcher to blow up some stuff to get out of his way. Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, so you're saying it's something like that. So can I ask you, is it more of a serious, almost like I said, almost like Unbreakable? Or oh my God, what is the other one? It's Unbreakable. Then there was the middle one. Split, and then Glass. So like those three. Is it like that series where it's kind of serious, or is it more of like a Monty Python Holy Quest for the Holy Grail where it's parodying? Because basically you're doing a parody. You're doing a parody of the superhero genre, deconstruction, which is great, and that's basically like what Monty Python was for like medieval movies, where you see, like King Arthur, he's going and he's like, I'm the king, and then the guy says, well, how are you the king? Like, we never voted for you. We don't even know who you are. Like, we've decided to be part of an egalitarian society, and you're like, it's kind of showing you this is what it would really be like. This is what it was like for normal people, just. Of today being like, wait, but some of this stuff doesn't even make any sense. Yeah. So is it something more, maybe a little less serious, more fun, or is it more like, a more darker tone?
It has a serious tone, but there's definitely humor and, things in here that don't just, I'm not getting as dark as like The Watchmen or The Punisher, and things like that. There are dark moments, and there's kind of one of the deals that goes throughout the whole series is we take a lot of perspective from the main character Phil, and you're in his head a lot. He has a like vicious inner monologue, and he's just noticing everything that goes around him. He's calling things out, and definitely dealing with psychological troubles and all kinds of other stuff. But when there are moments to be made fun of, we're making fun of those, and we'll get wild and fun, and funny with those things.
So is this like, so if I can ask then, like I know that, and I want to get into Philip Kirshner here because obviously he's main character and everything, but then I also want to ask, the one of the coolest part of, like, you have the series The Boys. One of the coolest part of it is the heroes, or is the superhuman people. So is this like just drawing another comparison that actually seems like it's really appropriate? Like, is it like The Boys where we have, are the superheroes and the villains, are they all evil? Like, is it the superheroes are evil too, or is it?
I think what sets this apart from comics like that is there's not really a moral standpoint that says these people are evil or good. It just says that like you should not exist, and like you're just by you existing, you make the world worse. It's the argument that like Batman could do so much more for Gotham if he just actually used his billions of dollars in his corporation to like help Gotham. Make infrastructure and, make people, bring up poverty and like help people. He would be a far greater force of good in Gotham than running around like beating up mentally ill people on the streets. And so it's coming from from that angle, and it's like I don't necessarily care if you're a hero or you're a villain, and these heroes and villains do exist, you know, in here, and I make sure to try to you know, like they represent tropes. You have like one of the major superheroes for what we call Atro City. That's the world, you know, that he's existing in, and the Wing is like the Cape Crusader for Atro City, and that's obviously like, you know, he represents like your Batman, your dark, your gritty hero, you know, like only I can give justice, you know, like kind of stuff.
Okay.
And you have wild, you know, villains and stuff like that, but Phil is never like assigning any sort of like specific morality to either of them and saying like, well, this guy's actually a good guy, or what this guy's doing is actually bad. He's just like, you make life unlivable and we need to stop this.
Okay. So then I guess like going through something that I'm thinking now, just listening to you, is, so we don't have like a Homelander then. You know, like we don't have the guy that's like, he's basically what we would think of as Superman, but then behind closed doors, he's like a murdering child molester. That's not the story you're telling. Okay.
No.
So then my question is mechanically of the writing of the story. Okay. It's basically, it's all from Philip's perspective? Like we're not going to be, because oftentimes what we have is you'll have a story that'll basically have the tagline of what you're saying, like what would life be like to live in a city, you know, as a normal guy. And then a lot of it, you know, you'll actually be following the hero, and then it'll jump back and forth between the hero and the, you know what I'm saying? Yours doesn't do that. This is completely from the perspective of the normal people.
Yeah, this first series that we're going down is all from the point of Philip Kirshner, and the other. You know, there's a lot of interaction with other what we might consider NPC type people. You know, I wanted to like uplift like average people in the book. You know, so there's less scenes and you know, actions that are being taken by superheroes and villains, and when they come in, it's usually for a real specific purpose.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I just the reason I want to point that out is because, like I said, you know, it's kind of like, did you play Star Wars Battlefront 2? You know, Star Wars Battlefront 2, they said, you're going to play as the Empire, and then you played as the Empire for like one mission, and then you switched to the Rebellion. You know, so we get that so much, and I really appreciate small creators like yourself, where it's like, look, there's no tropes here. We're not doing any of those tricks. This is what the story's about, and this is what you're going to get. So I appreciate that. So what can I just ask you, like, so what does, without spoiling, we don't really want any spoilers because we want people to go read this thing and you know, experience it for themselves. What does he do? Like, what do you do? What does Philip Kirshner here do? Is it again, maybe another comparison to The Boys, does he create a group to like go kill all the superheroes, or is it really, at least for now anyway, is it he's just dealing with life?
Yeah, I mean that's really a big crux of this whole series, you know, is his reaction to things, and how, you know, I tried as much as possible to imagine how like a normal person who is just fed up with society would act, you know. And in that first issue that, you know, we have Phil, you know, everything just like bottoms out on him. You know, he can't get to work on time because superheroes and supervillains are battling in traffic and causing, you know, like traffic delays and stuff like that. He's getting the electricity shut off on his apartment, the utilities shut off constantly because they're like, oh, you know, this supervillain like poisoned the water, or this one, you know, they had a fight, you know, at the electric station and all this. And it's just like, I'm trying to build this world that's like completely unlivable to live around these you know, people. And so, you know, that causes like the spiral to go out of control. And from there, it's you know, following that idea of once you break free and you say like, I'm not going to play by your rules anymore, I'm not going to live by the structure that society has set up anymore. well, now you have the freedom to do absolutely crazy stuff. And that's kind of where, you know, he's going from there, is this like this journey of like discovery and you know, loosening these like chains of culture and society on himself, and finding out, you know, just how difficult it is to even argue or fight against these institutions that already exist. And a lot of these things are calling back to issues that we have in real life. You know, how difficult it is to make a living nowadays, how difficult it is, you know, you think of like when a natural disaster hits and just how that upsets so many people's lives, and most people can't even deal with like a $500, you know, emergency in their bank account. And if you add superheroes and this whole like infrastructure on top of that, I'm trying to show like that would make things 100 times worse.
So this sounds more of you know, and it's not a criticism. It sounds more of like a drama type of story set in a world with superheroes than it does a superhero, because a lot of these mediums now, they have the superhero, and it's not just about the fact that he, you know, is faster than a speeding bullet or stronger than a locomotive. It's like you know, I'm going to tell you about my family, and there's some drama, but it's still a superhero story. This sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, sounds more like a drama set in a world with superheroes rather than a superhero story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, great. So then my other question is, and I'm gonna tell you, my mind draws like comparisons to just like pop culture. So it's like, that sounds like this movie. That reminds me of this book. So I'm just gonna be drawing a bunch of different comparisons here to like movies and video games. But it almost makes me think of the Joker, like the movie The Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Is this a villain origin story? I don't know. Maybe you don't know that yet, but that's kind of what I'm.
No, I know that.
Okay.
I know. I think people are going to be extremely surprised where I'm going with this, and how at least the first series ends. We have it mapped out, you know, and going all the way up to the second series, and but it's not a villain origin story. It's not even a hero origin story. You know, at the end of the day, you read the title of the book. It's Tales of Nihilism, and so a lot of this is trying to take cultural issues and use the medium of comic books to, you know, like tell these stories, and to kind of put people's frustrations, and even, you know, like my personal frustrations on this page, and make more of a statement. You know, the world of superheroes and all of that is kind of like a structure that I can set up, and I can use that to tell these like philosophical stories and have a statement to say. And it doesn't have to be just another tired old, you know, superhero deal. It's not like, oh, this guy's going to be the hero, or this guy's going to do this. It's all about like, no, these are societal struggles, and I'm trying to use those tropes, you know, to bring forth those stories.
Yeah, so I just want to say, okay, I mean, I kind of getting the picture of what's going on here with this story. I do just have one last question. So can you just tell us maybe a little bit more about the person of Philip Kirshner? We're getting the story, what he's going to be dealing with. You know, is this you know, is it a Billy Butcher type guy? You know, not that he's going to go around and start killing people, but I mean, is he that type of character though? Is he like, I just want to do the right thing, but things are so frustrating? Like, who is he? Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess first I'll start with the first series is deconstructing kind of like your golden age of comics. So we're going back to old action and detective comics and Marvel comics and these tropes that exist within those, and we're deconstructing those, and so those those heroes and villains that exist in there are, plays or mockeries of the heroes that exist in your older comics.
Right.
And so for that, excuse me, Phil he's less of a Billy Butcher. He's more of a he's supposed to just represent like an average everyday guy, and he has no incentive to go on this journey. He has no wish, no want. Mm-hmm. He's trying as hard as he can to make it in this world. We set up like some conversation and dialogue, how he's like, oh, I moved here to the big city, I got a degree, I did all the right things in society, I got hired at this nice place, but every time I turn around, I just can't make it. I can't do it. I'm showing up late to work, I can't pay the bills, I can't do this. Mm-hmm. And he starts to like look around and be like, it's because of the way society is set up. I'm doing everything I should be doing, and I'm trying as hard as I can, and I shouldn't be failing this hard. And then he looks around and is like, oh, well, it's because of all these superheroes and supervillains.
Yeah. You know what it makes me think of, though, actually, too, is any time that you see, like I just recently watched the old Justice League. Like it was just the Justice League, the animated series. Mm-hmm. And there's the first few episodes deal with people invading Earth, these aliens invading Earth, and it's the Martian Manhunter and all that. And then the next episode is about the Justice League has to go to another planet, and because Green Lantern is on trial for something. Okay, and you see this other planet, it's like, you have the Green Lanterns who are extremely powerful, but then the normal people are like, they can fly, they can do other stuff, and you have these giant buildings and advanced technology, and it almost makes you think, about the fact that, yeah, like if you look at Earth in a lot of these movies, all the problems are with these superhero people, and then whenever you go to another planet, it's just like, supervillains are just like your average thief, or murderer, like he used his laser beams and broke into the bank vault, but then the cops show up and they also can shoot laser beams and ice breath and fire and whatever. So I don't know, it's just an interesting juxtaposition when you think about the idea of how a society is with normal people having superheroes, and then like normal people being superheroes, being the average citizen. Yeah.
And I mean, we take those kind of things, like just like what you're talking about with the Martian Manhunter shows up, and these comics, they don't deal with the fallout behind these actions. Like if an alien showed up and said, yeah, there's a whole Martian race, I am the last of the Martian race, and I exist, I'm here. Like, that would crush, like Western society 100%. You think of all the like religions that would just like their heads would explode, and all these other people. It's been real, the UFOs and just all the fallout.
Actually, so at the time of this, right now it's the 11th of June, and they just had that story about some FBI guy coming out saying that we've had aliens. We're going to see how that plays out. So that might become a reality here.
I mean, even you go into Wonder Woman, just Wonder Woman existing, and it's like, yep, the old Greek gods, that's real, and I come from that world, and that's exists. It's true. Like, how would society even deal with that? And then we're supposed to just assume that people were like, yep, I just go on my day to work and hope that Superman stops, Destro or whatever. Like, what? Like, no one's stopping and saying, wait a minute, a Greek goddess is real.
So, that's really awesome. I really appreciate this. I have to applaud you. Kind of getting away so much of Tales of Nihilism, but just talking about just some of these ideas in general. I have to say I really appreciate it because small creators right now in the movie and video game industry, and now we have even comics, actually comics too, because so you're creating your own comic, but then there's also been recently been some serious success stories with comic books. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the names, but I know that something Rippa. The Rippaverse? YouTube content creator. He created his own. He created his own comic book, and now he has the Rippaverse, and it's just because I have to applaud you because basically, movie Marvel with Disney and all this stuff, DC has gone downhill, and it's Marvel started off really great and was really unique and is kind of plateaued. I wouldn't even say, people say, oh, it's plateaued. But it's like, no, it's not plateaued. We don't have superhero fatigue. That's not what it is. No. What it is that we're not plateaued. We just dropped. They dropped off a cliff. I mean, they dived into the deep end of poop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw the last Guardians of the Galaxy, and my whole family's sitting there hold it back,
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a very awesome and intense movie, and it's not superhero fatigue. It's just, look, if you make crappy stories, people aren't going to show up. And when you have something as heavy as Disney, now Marvel, Lucasfilm, excuse me, trying to corporatize these things and put them in a can and just mass produce them, it's not going to work.
So I'm going to tell you, have you ever read the book or seen the movie 1984?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you the truth. I have to watch the movie and for sure I have to read the book, but I haven't. But I've gotten the ideas. So I'm not an expert, but you know how you watch I watch those 15-minute movies where it's the guy breaks down all the main points and all that stuff. And then I've just got to take the time. I'm really busy with the YouTube channel stuff. I got to take the time, watch it and read the book. But the idea though behind it for audiences who don't know, 1984 was this idea that basically what they did is, in order to control society, they stripped away all creativity and replaced it with whatever the state wanted you to think, even to the point where they would have an event, they would publish something in the newspapers and it would say, hey, there's yesterday there was 50 Blue Jays that flew across the sky, and then the next day they decide, well, no, actually it would be better if there were 30. So now we're going to say that yesterday there were 30 Blue Jays, and then they go back into the newspapers and rewrite the newspaper to say there were 30 Blue Jays. Yeah, that's just an example of how they did it mechanically. But okay, so forget about government trying to control people and stuff. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make though is the beginning of the process was stripping all the creativity and mass producing basically mud. Our entertainment became bland, flavorless. Nothing for us to be inspired by, nothing for us to be identify with. I looked these stories. This is the reason that Mike's After Action Reviews exists, because I saw in The Last of Us 2, I hated it because in The Last of Us I identified with Joel, I identified with certain things, and I was inspired. And then in the second one they stripped all of that away and made it into something more corporate, we'll say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what we're seeing right now with media, and it's interesting that you say tales of nihilism, because that's exactly what it is. What you're talking about is exactly what was happening in stories like 1984, where they're stripping everything away into nihilism. Mm-hmm. And these stories, you see Captain America, and let's say, maybe you're just a young kid who's getting bullied at school, and you see Captain America, and he's this young guy, but he stands up and he says, I can do this all day. I'll stand up to you anyway. And then he becomes a hero, and you think to yourself, I can do that. I might not be able to throw a vibranium shield and bounce it off all my enemies, but I can do that. And I might not have metal claws and be able to regenerate from any abilities, but man, I can look a bad guy in the face and say, hey, bub. You and me, I'm not giving up today. Okay, that kind of stuff. Now, do you even feel that from any of the Marvel stuff?
Oh, no.
That's why Guardians of the Galaxy, like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy, it was so sad because we're basically, what we're doing is we're saying goodbye That's probably going to be the last good Marvel movie for a long time. We're saying goodbye to the quality of Marvel. That was it. Goodbye. That's why it was sad for me when I was in the theater. And then we have this new comic book creator called Stephen Russell creating Tales of Nihilism that is pointing out all of these same things. Like we are dealing with society becoming nothing. We're starting to believe in nothing. Like we have heroes. We have heroes now that used to mean something, but now they mean nothing. Because, like you said, poor storytelling.
Yeah. Well, part of that too is within this first series is taking those ideas and that hero worship and saying, instead of, childishly looking at these over the top heroes and saying like, I should draw inspiration from this person or, believe that I can do great things because this person exists, whatever you put it in your head. It's an idea of like trying to talk back to society and say, grow up and understand what the realistic things are that people need to survive and exist and how people need to thrive, rather than putting all of our hopes and dreams, because then it's easy to basically let everything else go to the wayside and just like, okay, you don't have to worry about, ambulances, and you don't have to worry about, social services. You don't have to worry about all these things because we have a hero, and the hero's going to take care of it. And it's trying to like tackle that idea too and say, like people need to understand the importance of society. They need to understand the driving mechanisms and kind of like these hero worship culture that we built, not just with superheroes. You see it with even, military. You see it with politicians. You see it with actors and actresses. And there's this idea that, we need to worship these people. We need to put everything into these people and they're going to make the world better. And it's like, that's not how things work. And so that's a lot of this like deconstruction in here is taking those ideas and tearing them apart and saying like, nah, you can't do that.
Yeah. I want to make it very clear because like I just said something and then maybe people are going to think, well, you kind of are saying contradictory things. No. I don't. Stephen is not saying something contradictory to what I said, and I don't think I'm contradicting him. What I'm talking about when we talk about old, like, the days of old when we would look at these heroes, what I'm talking about is not the fact that we need to have heroes that we can be inspired necessarily, but I'm talking about our stories used to say things that were important. Yeah. Okay. And in the instance of like a kid's comic book, what you would say is a kid's comic book was these values are important: strength, honesty, integrity, doing what's right. And so you would be inspired to be those things. Okay. So now we have a comic book that's saying, so now I don't think that my point is like, I don't think that what you're saying in my, is contradictory to that. I think it's actually fulfilling that where what you're saying is, hey, heroes, in a world where heroes would exist, we still need to believe in things. We still need to have, Yeah,
and I mean, I grew up like Spider-Man was my main comic. That's what I read, and that's what with my home life and everything, that's what like I gravitated towards more. And I was inspired by Peter Parker. I was inspired by all these crazy things that Spider-Man did and how he never gave up. And, he would just like have the crap beat out of him by Venom and Carnage and all these people. And he still stood up every single time. Those are like inspiring things. But at the same time, yes, when I got older and then I'm a man, I'm not still like, well, I don't know if I can do this. Let me go read Spider-Man and see if I can, but I did internalize, it's okay to internalize these things, especially, when you're young and you need something like that. It's okay to, take in these good inspirational deals and turn that around and use it. But at the same time,
don't get lost.
Don't get lost. And I think in society today, we have a lot of people who are walking around blind and lost, and they just are, they're out there looking for that hero. they want that. They want someone who's going to like make everything okay for them. And I'm like, no, you have to band together. You have to find your people, and you also have to hold people who are supposed to be leaders accountable. And if you have your hero out there, it's easy to just like forget that and let things keep spiraling out of control.
I'm trying to remember even a Superman. I believe that there was a comic book or an animated series or something where even Superman basically said exactly the same thing you're saying. He said, like the idea was people were doing things and they said like, oh, you'll save us or something like that. And he said, I'm Superman and I have all these strength and I do what I can because actually I'm just a normal guy. I mean, I happen to have these abilities, so I do. I see somebody about to get hit by a bus. I have the ability to stop it, so I do.
Yeah.
You, as normal people, also have abilities to do things. Like, you need to do what you can do as well, is basically what he said. Basically kind of saying the same idea. Yeah, like, don't get lost in the idea that I'm always going to be here for you, man. Like, I don't think that that's So I don't think that what you're saying is contradictory to anything of the core beliefs of old comic books or the golden age of comic books, because people were just trying to inspire. Like actually, Superman in particular, he came out during World War One, World War Two. I want to say World War Two, and the whole idea. Truth, Justice, and the American Way, Red, White, and Blue. His whole thing was he was the Man of Steel. His whole idea was to tell people, America, use your might. Do what's right. Use your might. Okay? And it wasn't... there's a superhero out there that's going to save you. It's... you have that old song that says, I need a hero. Well, you are the hero.
Yeah.
Like, you as a normal guy without superpowers... you are the hero. So there you go. No, it's really great. It's really great to hear that we have these discussions coming through. Like being able to have you on and talk to you, and then have this particular discussion about the things, like basically the cultural beliefs and the different things that are coming from your story, even if whether they're subtext or whether they're at the forefront, is awesome, because like I said, we are not getting that from Marvel or DC, and people aren't telling these types of stories and bringing these types of stories to the forefront, the stories that mean something, stories that make you think and help people become the better people that they need to be, because that's what stories are. And
I mean, those corporations just aren't set up to do that, and it's like you're whether you're working for Disney or Marvel or whoever it is, if you have a writer's room of like 15 to 20 people, and at the end of the day the point of it is to like make a blockbuster movie and it's not to tell a significant story, then I'm sorry, it's just going to come out as cookie cutter trash, and then the other things are all going to get in the way of having to we have to maintain the continuity of this entire universe, and that probably changes on the daily depending on who's in charge of the movie or what area department they're dealing with. And then you're also having 15 to 20 people who have their own agendas, they have their own statement that they want to say, and they want that to come out in this movie, and it's just this. And then at the end of the day, the point was not to make an amazing movie. It wasn't to, take what Marvel had already built in a comic book and just, bring it to life and breathe, this artistic resonance in it. It was... No, we just have to make this so that now we can do a line of toys, and now we can do sell rights. Now we can do this. Now we can do that. And so these people at the top, they don't care. They're just like, check mark. Yep, cool. Next one. What's the next movie? Ant-Man. Cool. Yep, that one. All right. Yep, this one. Yeah. And you might have some mechanical editing of this thing to make sure that okay, we have to make sure it doesn't get too far left field and right, because we want to maintain this vision for our profit motive and all of this. But I mean, that's that entire world, and I get it too. that's part of this journey that I've been on, where you realize in the comic book business, people who do independent comics, especially if you don't work for a publisher like myself, you're not making any money off of this. You're, in fact, most of the time you're spending more money than you make to do this. And there's a huge breakdown in the independent comic community of people trying to figure out how to monetize these things, and they don't understand that, like, even Marvel and DC, their divisions of comic books, they operate in the red all the time. They're like, yeah, this is basically the advertising money we're using to sell, because where they're making the money is in merchandising, advertising, and selling off or renting out intellectual property rights. That's where they're making ginormous profits and generating that. So the business isn't the comic books. The comic books are kind of like the advertisement for the business, and it's like, oh, okay, so yeah, it's great. There's people out there who are far more, artistically talented than me, and there's making amazing work out there, but that's just the whole setup that we have right now with that.
I'm gonna tell you, if have you read a comic book like a Marvel or DC comic book recently?
It's probably been, I think, at least a year since I read a DC comic book, and because I go out to comic shops once a year when they do free comic book day, and I'll take my kid and we'll go get free comic books. So I think last May, I want to say it was, we picked up a DC comic book, But I did the last one I spent really big money on was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Ronin comic.
Yeah. Which by the way was all hand drawn. But I was just saying, because Marvel now, I'll put a picture up. Like, okay, so I'll put the last Ronin down here. You guys check it out, and I'll put some panels from a comic book over here. They do a lot of the 3D digital stuff with a hand-drawn character, so it looks terrible. It looks really bad. Yeah. Like the original comic books, the art of the original comic, or inconsistency where you'll have a character who will look one way on one panel, and then literally the next panel it looks like it's drawn by a completely different artist. Like it doesn't. If you're into the art style, I'd say no. Even that, like just because you mentioned there's people who do better. There's always people who do better than somebody, but I'll tell you, on average now, Marvel is not artistically, even the way that their comics look, aren't the best.
It's all about that packaging. We gotta.
And I was gonna say, and that's the point that I was saying about like the 1984. I'm not saying that comic books and these storytellers are doing it to enact some world plan. I mean, they might be. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but they might be. They might all be getting together, going, "We're going to tell a bunch of stories that mean nothing and tell the people mean nothing." But basically, when you tell stories that mean nothing, you end up with a society that believes in nothing, and then somebody comes in and goes, "Hey, believe in this." And then you end up with a world like 1984. Where
you don't have to, set the metaphor at the government with 1984. That can translate over to anything, a corporation, a group, an entity, that you work with. It's
just it's basically
malleable,
Yeah. Well, I was just saying, like, it's basically the idea that the stories that we tell ourselves, and this is kind of my thing that I talk about from Mike's After Extra Reviews, the stories that we tell ourselves make us into the people that we are. And if you're telling bad stories, you end up with bad people. Like if you end up with if you have stories, that's where you get when you say stuff like NPC people. Like that's like a term now. We have NPCs. I'll put the picture up over here. The reason that you have people that are NPCs is because they've consumed media their entire life. They've never dealt with an issue. They've never had adversity, not real adversity anyway. And then all of the media or any of the stories they ever learned or anything they were ever taught meant nothing, and so they have nothing. There's nothing. They don't stand for anything. They don't believe in anything.
Absolutely. And that's part of the frustration that I think is coming out in my artwork here is, trying to identify the hypocrisy of things and this idea of where things are going and how, our society seems to be set up, and it's trying to like kind of stick your thumb in that eye and say like this isn't right. Yeah. Like everybody should step back and take a look, because the things that are motivating us now are not important.
Yeah. Well, and then like you were saying, falling down, it almost sounds like Philip Kirshner, just like you were saying. It almost sounds like he kind of had a day where he was like, he just woke up and realized, what are we doing? We don't seem like we're living in our cozy, almost, like there's that I think it was from the Star Wars online video game. There's this really, really great monologue a guy says where he says, "You rested in your cradle of power." Okay, so this is a Sith talking about the Jedi. He said, "While you rested in your cradle of power, we trained and became strong." Okay. Mm-hmm. It seems like we're resting in the world of Tales of Nihilism, that people are resting in this cradle of superheroes, not realizing I can't even get to work, man. Like I can't pay my bills. Like, okay, maybe crime is down because we have Superman flying around saving the world, or whoever Superman is. Like you said, the Wing. We have the Wing, and he's protecting the streets. But like the damage the Wing does every day is making my insurance rates skyrocket. I can't afford to feed my kids.
Yeah, exactly. And like you go to Star Wars, that's another, I guess, frustrational inspiration for this as well, because I think as good as the original 3 were, the prequels that came out, even as basically a preteen up to a teenager by the time they finished, like. I didn't like them at all. I was just like, what is this? Like I saw the best movie series I'd ever seen in my life with Star Wars, and now you give me this. And I think it's because George Lucas didn't have an understanding of what he was trying to do with that second set. And because I had these criticisms of like, okay, wait, the Jedi and their council together, they do seem broken. They do seem like, an apathetic organization. I don't think it's displayed well enough in the prequels. But, you get into, what's his name? Aeon Mundi, the guy with the cone head and all that. Yeah, and supposedly he's like the only Jedi who's able to violate the code because his whole race is about to, go extinct. They don't bring that up. They don't bring up, all the really political minutia of like, here's the Jedi making backroom deals with senators, and here's like, these things going around, and we're all trying to maintain the status quo so that we can make these institutions stay alive, but we're not living by the institutional values and practices that we throw out. And, I think if George Lucas would have had somebody who's, had maybe a darker mindset, and somebody who, had that like 1984, framework in their head, and they understand those kind of things, I think it would have come out a lot better, because you basically get blindsided. You're like, Anakin just seems like he whines the whole series, and you don't see any of the Clone Wars. The whole thing is supposed to be about the Clone Wars, and they're not in there. So you don't see
Go on.
You don't see the conflict of war. You don't see the decisions of these Jedi who are not militarily trained all of a sudden making very like insane decisions and just violating the Jedi code and doing all these like horrific things and having to make these really morally deep decisions and failing. And then, the entire society, this galactic republic, cannot sustain itself. Now, we've had some additions to that, where you have like Andor, you have The Mandalorian, you have like these little world-building series that kind of like add to that. But that should have been the prequel movies, is like just showing how destitute and like falling apart this whole society really was. And then people would get it, like, oh, now I understand why Anakin decided to become Darth Vader. Like, the society that he lived in was a complete hypocrisy, and there was no truth to anything.
Yeah, I will say, I liked So I agree with you because I've read the expanded. I haven't read all of it. I mean, there's so many books. There's thousands of Star Wars books. Actually, there actually are over 1,000 Star Wars books. I've read the expanded universe. Yeah, and so I, as someone who reads the books, and then you kind of get it, like you were saying, you kind of get a little bit more. I would say I liked the story of Darth Vader. Rising and falling, you know, I like how the duel of the fates is actually like it's Darth Vader's fate, it's Anakin's fate. You know, I like some of the stuff. I think that there was it was more about filmmaking decisions that were the problems than it was the storytelling. Because George Lucas had the story, it just didn't happen like you yourself were saying. Like it didn't really get into the films in the way that was the best way. I will say this though, Star Wars is completely financially unviable right now, and Disney. I've recently heard through the grapevine that Disney is thinking about selling it to an individual. Like they haven't named the person, and a lot of people are speculating that individual is George Lucas. And when
selling it back to him.
Yeah, and if George Lucas gets Star Wars back, the first movie if he makes a movie of Star Wars after, you know, the first movie that George Lucas makes after that, the first new Star Wars movie will be the biggest Star Wars movie ever, because it'll be Daddy's back and he's working, you know. But anyway, so that's good. That's going to be exciting. But anyway, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with what you're saying about there was a lot more going on that you don't get. That kind
like
of sucks.
you know, without watching the Clone War cartoon show, you don't see all the struggles that Anakin goes through. And so when the movie came out, you just go from movie 2 to movie 3. You miss the whole Clone Wars, and you're like, why is this guy crying so hard that he can't be a Jedi Master? It's like, what have you done, man? Like, and you're like, wait a minute, you're gonna turn Sith just because they won't rank you up, like.
There was some stuff in the movie. So in the movie, it was funny to me because in the second movie, Dooku actually tells Obi-Wan Kenobi outright that the Senate is being controlled by the Dark Lord of the Sith, and Obi-Wan Kenobi doesn't mention that to anybody. And if he had, they might have figured out that it was Palpatine. Anyway, we're kind of off on a tangent here. Just great. The point that I was making though is just great storytelling all around. Great to see us kind of breaking away from the manufactured, bland nothingness, like meaning nothing anyway, of a lot of these stories. So let's talk about this real quick. Where can everybody find you? And like I myself, as I said in the beginning of the video, the intro, we've partnered. I'm actually advertising with Tales of Nihilism. So if you guys check out if you want to go ahead and say, but I've taken advantage of this program, and my ads are going to be in the Tales of Nihilism comic book. So go ahead, take it away. Tell us about all of that.
Absolutely. First of all, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook, and I think we even have a Twitter. But the big deal is that the comic is released on Global Comix digitally once a month. And we have a main issue with short stories and then comic strips. That's normally how our schedule goes through. So like once every 3 months, you'll get a main issue. Once every 3 months, you'll get a short story. And then a month full of just funny and whimsical comic strips. And that's all on Global Comix. However, we are coming up in August, on August 19th, we are going to unveil the first physical publication at Plastic City Comic-Con near Boston. And that's going to be an indie Comic-Con that focuses on independent creators and artists and small businesses. It's highly... can't think the word like curtailed or it's
curated?
highly curated to make sure that they don't have any like big name merchandisers and like even like stars and stuff come in there, because they don't want people spending all of their money out there getting autographs and Funko Pops, and then they show up to the artist tables and they don't have any money to spend on comics and art. So that's the main focus of this, and that's one of the reasons that we're reaching out with the advertisement, is to be a good opportunity for anybody who has a small business, especially if you have an online presence or anything, or you distribute nationwide. You can look at our ad purchasing rates and get in there, and kind of like people are showing up to this thing for this niche event. So it's kind of like real good opportunity.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so go check all of that out. You said August 19th.
Mm-hmm.
So I will be in Italy until August 3rd, and then I'm not going to go, but I'm just saying, I'll be back before then. We'll have to do another little, hey, go check us out August 19th, because my ad is going to be in there. Keep one of those comics. How much do you know how much you're going to be selling the comics for?
I think we're going to be doing $4.99. We should have like 25 issues that are going to be up for sale there. And then we're also going to have like some small pieces of merchandise. We're making like buttons and, bookmarks. And we're even doing these nice little postcards it's going to be like from places around Atro City. So it'll be like, hey, enjoy the sun over here, and then it'll have like a villain in the background or a superhero guy in the background and things like that.
Cool. Yeah, you got to give me some pictures of some of that stuff, and I'll, maybe I can put it in the video. Make sure get me one of the comics. I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it, even if you have to print an extra one or however you do that. Print it, and I'll because I want the comic with my ad in it. So but definitely Stephen Russell, great artist. I've been trying to get this guy. This is for my audience. I've been trying to get this guy to go on Fiverr. I have a small thing on Fiverr for people who want to do ads on MAARs, on Mike's After Action Reviews. You got to get on Fiverr because you do great artwork. This is Stephen Russell is the guy who did my new logo. Where I actually have a video called White Wolf Evolution, and you can see what he did with my wolves. Those were great. And yeah, man, if you offered your services to like small people doing graphics and stuff, that'd be cool. But I digress.
I digress. Always open for commissions.
Yeah, I digress. Yeah, get a hold of Stephen Russell. Hopefully we get a Fiverr or something going. But anyway, so check all of that out, and then I'm going to be running some ads for my buddy Stephen Russell here. You might see him. He was in the summit. We also do sometimes do other collaboration videos and stuff like that, known as Salty Skipper. I'm going to be getting you a shirt, by the way, because I've got some money now. I just made some money. I'm gonna get you a shirt. Order a bunch of shirts. Check all of that out, guys. Support local veterans. Local. Support small businesses created by veterans. We're probably not local because we're on the internet, but you know what I'm saying. The thought still counts. Yeah. Hey, anything else you want to say to our audiences before we go?
Just. Go check out the comic, and we are dropping the fourth issue, the main series at the end of this month. I think it's the 28th. It should be the last Wednesday of this month. So if you followed us up, we have 3 main issues, and that fourth is dropping. And I mean, it's just going to get even crazier with each issue. I think this one coming out is going to be our best one yet. So.
All right, awesome. There you go, guys. So here at Mike's After Action Reviews, we do want to thank you. Thank you for watching and all your support, guys. I just want to say thank you one last time, and also God bless you all, and have a good day. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch and join the Discord, where you can voice chat with me while I live stream, and you won't be recorded or anything on YouTube and Twitch, so that's pretty cool. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. If you like to read, you can see my after action reports on my blog. And if you are interested, you can get some merch from my spring store. The links for everything are in the description below.